Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Racers Driving League for Season 20, Round 12 of the Championship. Welcome to the ever-iconic Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix, marking the halfway stage of this season's Racers Driving League calendar. I'm your host, Akasi. By myself tonight, Ben couldn't be with me this evening, so I'll take you through the 22 laps of action, of course, the full qualifying hour myself. It should be a good one. Belgium, a very enjoyable circuit, as always, has been for many, many years. And we've got a full grid in tonight's race. No reserves on the grid, so it should be an exciting one as everyone looks to try and stop our runaway championship leader, as he has done for several times in the last few seasons. Grumio showing the way by a full 103 points in the standings. And hopefully the mic problems. I'm not. There's a problem with the mic. I'm not too sure as to what's going on with the mic at the moment. I had this during a video earlier. Hopefully that's a bit better. Yeah. I mean, I've got no idea as to what the problem is. Hopefully that's slightly better than it was. We have got a car going on the circuit. I can see Lucky Lambert's Ferrari heading towards the pit exit for the first time. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so that solves a problem from today earlier on and from right this second. So that works that out. Okay, so onto the circuit then for the first time. Lucky Lambert and looking for that first lap. One of two. Sorry. Completely missed DJ heading out onto the racetrack in the Aston Martin. He's your first car out on the circuit. So we'll see here who else joins them. Obviously, I should think we'll be seeing everyone coming through shortly. But no, it should be a good Grand Prix. Spa, always exciting track. 19 corners of sheer drama. And we've seen some fantastic races here in recent seasons, of course. It's one of those Grand Prix that has been 100% in the past. It was last season. Of course, Grumio taking victory last time out here. Landlord came dreadfully close to victory in what turned out to be his final start in Belgium. And almost took a victory for his team last campaign. But Grumio won out. And we'll see if he can do the same thing again this time round over the 22-lap distance. Whether we'll see any rain in tonight's race, not too sure. I mean, things look all okay. I mean, it's relatively cloudy over the circuit. So whether we'll see any sort of condition change over the course of qualifying remains to be seen. But as we see DJ going through turn 15 and into the third and final sector of the circuit. Obviously, a lot of the lap is taken flat out here. Of course, that second sector a bit more technical than the first and the third one, but for the most part, you've just got your foot jammed to the throttle, and we'll see. We'll get a sense of that as DJ comes through the bus stop, turns 18 and 19 for his first lap of the day. So off the last corner and towards the lines begin that first flying lap down towards turn number 1. Into that first corner he goes, and a bit of a lock-up at La Source, that tight right hand to kick off your lap here at Spa. There is the grandstand filled with orange there as they make their way down towards Eau Rouge for the first time. Obviously, Radion serving as the peak of this corner, this little complex of corners, turns 2, 3, and 4. Already got retirement. Chair is disconnected from the session. So not retirement, he's just had a yellow flag in behind, but not too concerning. Down the Camel straight towards La Source. La Source? Le Com. Turn number 5, the right-hander. End of the first sector, 30.6 for DJ. It's only the first few corners and the first 2 straight to the circuit, but it's a long first sector. The track as a whole, one of the longest we visit on the entire Formula 1 calendar. But down through turns 8 and 9 into No Name. Got a gravel trap waiting for you on corner exit. And in towards Poo on turn 10, that relatively tight, almost blind left-hander. Now towards the exit through turns 12 and 13, keeping the car nice and controlled. Keeping off those curbs for the time being. As it makes its way into turn 14 now to complete that second sector, we're looking at a 1 minute 14.765 to complete sector 2. Haven't got any of our front runners currently on laps at the minute. So we'll get an idea soon of what the benchmark will be like. Actually, I mean, Grumio and Imri both on out laps. Imri about to start his first flying run. He's on medium tyres, just getting a banker in here. Perhaps trying to go for a different tyre strategy in this evening's qualifying session. But last 2 corners for DJ. Bit deep there through turn 18, but keeps the car under control, such as a driver of his caliber. And it's a 1:43.022 on the board for the first time in the evening for the Aston Martin. Lucky is next through in the Ferrari. So he rounds the final corner. Looking to try and improve on that lap. He won't improve on it. It's quite close. It's about half a tenth between them. And in comes one of the Alpines in behind. That'll be Ethan, starting off his first flying lap. And I dare say, for a moment I thought I saw Imri take a bollard out. I have to check on that. We'll keep an eye on DJ and see as to whether all the braking boards are still there, and they are. So that concern averted. Of course, Imri has been obviously a return to the points for him last week after a number of no scores in Spain and Canada. 6th place at Silverstone. Of course, was on course for pole position in last week's event, as he has been in the races prior to this one. However, a last-second running with a curb at the final corner through Club Corner at Silverstone. That last turn before the line, caught the curb in the wrong place and spun out into the gravel trap. Lost that lap time, and in the end, while trying to get himself out the gravel trap, got himself disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location. So moved down the order to, I believe it was 8th place on the start, as he was, I believe, 3rd at the time. And tried a slightly more aggressive one-stop strategy. Didn't work out for him. And as a result, 6th place from on the road in last week's event. Daniel Aaron now sitting in 2nd place in the championship. Imri goes fast on that medium tyres. 142.4 on the board for the Kick Sauber driver. Dan's still in the pit. I'll come back into the pit later after that lap. Grumio, the champion and the reigning winner here at Belgium, is making his way down through turn 11 as we speak. We'll see what sort of time he puts in. Of course, we've seen Grumio and Imri go back and forth in terms of qualifying in the over the entirety of this season so far. It's been very much a 2-horse race in terms of qualifying over the course of this campaign. In fact, that it's still they remain the only 2 drivers to have taken pole position this season. It's only been these 2 the entirety of the campaign. Of course, we've had a number of different race winners. We've had obviously Grumio, Imri, Che, and Dan have all managed to win Grand Prix. But in terms of pole positions, it's 6 poles for Imri and 5 for Grumio, as he follows Imri's teammate HB Cook off the last corner. Grumio fastest there on the soft tyre, 141.6. And that'll be the sort of thing we'll be expecting from Imri later on when he bolts on a set of soft tyres. But I imagine just get himself through to Q2 nice and safe. Shouldn't be any concern for either one of those 2 drivers. There's the 2 Alpines there going through Lecom. PJ and Ethan. Ethan's currently up in 3rd place, 142.985. See JB into the 5th spot there, 143.0 on the ball for him. Just 7 thousandths in front of Lucky now in P6. Ericsson P7. Cottney Goblins went out for an early run. He sits in the 8th spot, 144.558 on the ball for the Ferrari driver. Of course, we'll be losing our first 5 drivers come the end of this session. Sorry about that. Choked for a second there, not quite sure. Back into the action though. Still only 8 drivers put their times in at the moment, obviously, so we're still waiting on over half the pack to come out there and put their laps in. Make that 9 as see Curtis shooting up to 3rd place there, 142.7 on the board for the Red Bull. So a solid first lap, and of course the Red Bull have been there and thereabouts the best team in the midfield thus far. Of course, the top 4 teams in terms of the constructors, Haas, Williams, Mercedes and Sauber, have long gone been the fastest teams in the pack. Red Bull, if they can just score 1 point there, we become the 5th team in the championship to hit 100 points plus for the campaign, which would be quite impressive. Half the pack, or half the constructors teams scoring over 100. Of course, Visa Cash App RB sitting in the 6th spot here. Their run has waned a little bit here in the last couple of races. 10th Cannon's scoring run continues on. JB 10th, 17th and 16th his last 3 races, so looking for a big break tonight. Of course, that RB team were sitting higher up in the standings, sitting in 6th place now, so they've sort of stagnated a bit. Currently 21 points back from Red Bull, so a gap that is still there to close. The chance to nab P5 back is still there at some stage, perhaps at some stage later on in the season, but you have to wait and see. The second half of the campaign obviously quite different to the first. Next time out will be our Grand Prix in Hungary, which will be our first 100% race at the Hungaroring. Followed then by Zandvoort, Monza and Azerbaijan. Those are your next 4 races after tonight. And from there, obviously, Singapore, Qatar, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and then the reverse grid finale in Austria. So that'll be always an interesting one. So we are obviously nearing the end of our European stint of the season. Just 4 of those races left to go, and obviously we'll return back to Europe for the Austrian Grand Prix. 13 cars now set times. Websy charging out of fuel on there, and into turn number 12. His teammate currently sat in P10. So 14 of our 20 have now set times. So a lot more cars have been out on circuit since. On the outside there, that'd be AT, who's currently sitting in the 4th spot. Che has gone to 2nd, so shot up the order there. And Pope is one of the cars yet to set a lap time. He's going through Eau Rouge in behind his teammate now. Perhaps a bit of Toby in play here for the 2 Williams cars. Teamwork perhaps on show. Che 141.9. So only a few tenths off of Grumio. It's one of the circuits where Che could pose a real challenge, as he did last week at Silverstone. Of course, led the majority of the way in the second part of the race. Of course, Pope led early on in the race at Silverstone last week, got the edge of everyone on the start. Took advantage of the situation with Imri's disqualification, in which put him down in 10th place on the start. He got disqualified from Q3. So Pope took the spot up, took 1 spot higher in the order and made use of it on the race start. Led the early portion, the first stint or so of the Grand Prix. Then from there came through to take what ended up being a 3rd place finish to another podium, his 2nd podium in 3 races. So we'll see here. So obviously he sits there 4th place in the standings, just 4 points back from Imri in 3rd, and obviously Dan in 2nd place, 31 points over the Sauber driver, and from there it's a big whopping 103 to Grumio at the top of the table. So he'll take some catching. If anyone's got anything for him at all, then it's going to take a gargantuan effort from here on out in order to give yourself a chance at winning that elusive RDL championship. But Pope towards the line. 141.911 for Pope. And only just in front of his teammate there, with that toe down the camel straight. Big help to his teammate was Che. Imri down to 4th there. That's AT 5th. TJ in P6. Curtis P7. HB Cook P8. Websy 9th. Alba, Ethan, DJ, JB, Lucky, and Dan currently going through. Dan is looking quite nervy there towards the lower end of the field. His teammate Obsessed is the first car in the bottom 5. Ericsson and Courtney Goblin behind them. And 10th Cannon and PJ Kelly yet to see them put in lap times in this session. So it's going to be interesting to see whenabouts those 2 emerge and what sort of pace they're putting on in this session. There's only 5 minutes to go, so there is time to get back on the circuit and go for a lap. There's a majority of cars in the pit lane as of right now. Courtney Goblin is trying to improve here. Needs to gain about 1.5 seconds to put himself into that top 15. Another car on the circuit, that would be PJ Callum making his way onto the racetrack. Of course, Alpine sit while we talked about RB chasing Red Bull. Alpine are doing quite the opposite in 7th place, fending off a challenge from Aston Martin, who have been resurgent in recent races. Of course, a big 4th place for Websy in Canada. That brought them up a fair bit in the championship. 36 points for Alpine, 34 for Aston Martin. Of course, you've got to keep an eye then behind them. Another 16 points back. Sorry, another 14. No, 16, right. 16 back to McLaren in P9. And it's another 6 to Ferrari in P10. So 18 for McLaren, 12 for Ferrari. Those 2 in their own sort of separate fights. Pope retires from the session. Courtney Goblin here on his next lap with a bit of a toe from his teammate Lucky Lambert. Lucky up in P5. So definitely finding his footing in terms of qualifying is the former champion. Of course, he took 6th place in Canada. Didn't score last time out. We'll see if he can get himself back inside the points. Those points in Canada being his first of the season, and those points could come crucial for Ferrari towards the end of the campaign. Alvar scored the majority of points for McLaren this season with 14. Apologies, that'd be 16, and then Ericsson scoring 2. So the Swedish duo piloting the McLaren cars. Just trying to fend off Ferrari's challenge for now. Courtney Goblin makes his way towards the end of the 2nd sector. 10th Cannon still in the pit lane here. As I said, she's making her way out. Coming out behind HB Cook. And Courtney improving by half a second in the second sector as of right now. So gains being made then for the Ferrari driver as he heads down through towards the bus stop. TJ retiring, so a number of cars out. DJ's there in a bit of hot water because he's currently sitting in P13. He's retired from the session here, and three drivers improving over him will put him out. And there's plenty of time for more than 3 drivers to connect through and put laps in. Conley Goblin improved by half a second, not enough to get him any higher in terms of position. And PJ down into turn number 8. Through no name now, keeping the car steady. His Alpine teammate still there behind him. That will be Ethan in P12 right now. Those two both going for it, trying to get themselves away from the bottom 5 if they can. I mean, obviously, PJ's trying to get himself out of it. Webbsy retires. So both Aston Martins calling it quits for this first session. I mean, Webbsy should be safe. DJ not too sure. It could come down to the last few seconds. But we're nearing the point now where you sort of need to be on the circuit and going for laps at this point. You can't be leaving the pit lane at this stage and getting a lap in. Out towards the bus stop again. See what PJ can put in. Right on board with the Alpine as he leaves that final corner, charging up towards the line to complete his lap. It'll be P16 for him, 1:43.180, and that could be a biggie. He needs a bit more than that to get himself through right now. Dan is also on a lap. He's up 2/10 in the first sector. So at this point, JB may be the car at risk, and he's got damage to his front wing there. So I dare say we're going back to the pit lane this time. And RB could be in serious trouble here. 10th starts what will be her first and only lap of qualifying 1. What's that point run stretching back a fair bit? Imri now goes fastest, 1:41.5. Couldn't resist a run at the end there to put himself top of the board. 10th Cannon 30.5 in her first sector. JB is retired at this point. Dan is coming up towards the last few corners. PJ is pulling the car over. I think he's all set to be out of qualifying here. Waiting on that checkered flag to drop. Obsessed Gamer in P17. He's also equally in danger. If anything, he's in more danger than his teammate. Checkered flag is now up. Dan towards the line. Put himself away from the bottom 5. P5 for Dan. It'll be Obsessed Gamer across the line. Obsessed to P13. DJ now on the cut. JB is the first car out. Ericsson's in the pit lane. He's also out. PJ is eliminated. Courtney Goblin looks to be out here. 10th Cannon may still knock out DJ if she can get herself into the 142s. It's 1:14.9 in the second sector. And then towards the last 2 corners here. Ethan improves to P6 there. He'll be going through without any drama, unlike his teammate. Final turn for 10th. McLaren's over the line there. Ericsson obviously out, and 10th Cannon into P15 there. And by 22 thousandths, he knocks out DJ. JB going out with him. PJ, Ericsson, and Courtney look to be eliminated here. Imri retires. He tops the session by about 10.5 to Grumio. Pope and Che, 3rd and 4th. Dan in P5. Ethan, Lucky, AT, TJ, and Curtis, your top 10. HB Cook, Webbsy, Alvar, Obsessed, and 10th Cannon all going through. DJ, JB, PJ, Ericsson, and Courtney Goblin are all out. So tough end to qualifying for those bottom 5, especially for DJ and for JB. As Lucky Lambert heading to the pit lane. So qualifying 1 now over. It's a very exciting end to the session there. As 10th scrambled to get herself into Q2 and did so narrowly. It'll be interesting to see how we cut the field down to size. Look at that, P5 to P14. Less than a second separated them, and that could be the difference maker in Q2 as we will whittle the field down from 15 to 10. And we'll get an idea from there as to what the situation is. So qualifying 1 over. Back in a few moments for qualifying 2. So into qualifying 2 then, and down to our last 15 drivers as they vie for one of those 10 places in Q3. Qualifying 1 was quite intense, quite close. P5 to P14 separated by a second, all within that same gap, all in the 142s, and we'll see then who has got the speed to try and get themselves out in front of the rest of the pack, and from there we'll see who would you be going for pole position in the last part of the session later on here in Belgium. So Sauber's first to get out of the track and wasting no time at all here, both Imrie and HB Cook. Perhaps could there be a bit of team play afoot here between those two cars? Be certainly interesting to find out. Whether the plan will be for HB Cook to get a tow off of his teammates, try and get both cars into the last part of the session. So a large train of cars out on the racetrack here. Only 5 of them staying in the pit lane. So AT, Grumio, Websy, Lucky and TJ all staying in the pits. Everyone else is out on track. See Pope goes to third car trailing those 2 Saubers. Well, I mean, any sense of there being perhaps a team game in play here in the session for Sauber has been eradicated for the moment. Imrie is taken off into the distance. HB Cook left by himself there. But we'll see in terms of individual pace what both cars put in. Because both cars were there in the top 10 and doing just fine in Q1. So I'm not sure that the tow is as required to get both cars through. Just have to see here what the game plan is for those guys. So through the last corner then, and on to the first lap of Q2. Imrie, of course, went out on his first lap in Q1 on a set of medium tyres. He's put on the softs this time round. So I imagine it may just be the one lap in this session to get him through to Q3 and then seeing from there. I mean, truthfully, I thought that his mediums lap was okay to go through, and it was. But, of course, he came out last second in the end of the first session and bolted on that fresh set of soft tyres and went for a fast lap and went fastest. So topped Q1, as we've seen him do many times, as he chased his 7th pole position of season 20. 30.4 his first sector. And you see how aggressive he is and makes his way through sector 2 now, through turns 5, 6 and 7. And down towards 8. Close to that gravel trap on corner exit out turn 9, but missing it. And down towards Puon now, keeping the car nice and planted. Of course, since that win in China, there's been a number of podium finishes for Imrie, but none in the last couple of races. It's been a difficult stretch for him the last month or so since Monaco. So if there'd be a place to try and bounce back with a good result, it'd be Belgium. I think the aim would be to try and get himself back on the podium at minimum, and then from there see where things get taken for him as he makes his way towards the bus stop. Of course, keep an eye on his teammate who'll be coming through shortly as well, into the last corners. Towards the line, it's 1 minute 41.554 for the Sauber driver. HB Cook next car to come through into the line. We Pope behind him. And 142.9 for HB Cook. Pope next through. And it's 142.7. So separating the 2 Saubers there. Curtis coming in behind. 142.2. So faster than Pope there. Ethan into P5. 10th Cannon, of course, slipped through to Q2. 6th fastest so far. 6th of 6. Shade to P4. 142.8 on the board. Here comes Websy in the Aston Martin. 143.057. Down into P6, and there's Alvar P10. So there's your 10 drivers who went out for those first runs initially. Of course, still got those 5 cars, 3 of whom are out on the circuit. And Grumio joining that train now into the last couple of corners. We'll see what sort of lap he puts in. 1:41.991. So the gap there between the two fastest qualifiers this season, 0.436 seconds between the pair of them. So Im required to weigh in front after those first runs. So TJ jumping to 8th place. AT, the next one of those cars to come through. He's on his first lap now. Obsessed unlucky yet to lead the pits. So staying where they are for now. Down the Camel Straight. Of course, Haas still dominating the race in the Constructors, where it looked as though there'd be challengers to this season in terms of Williams, Mercedes and Sauber. And while they are all still challenging individually for race wins on the occasion, Grumio and AT have been the dominant combo. 316 points to their name, 93 back to Williams in second place. It's another 100. It's another 71 back to Mercedes in third, and from there it's 12 to Sauber in fourth. So the third and fourth place race still awfully close between the Brackley-based outfit and the Hinwil Switzerland-based team. And qualifying has not been a concern for these guys. It's always been a concern in the Grand Prix that's been the main one. And that's the tough bit, because the Grand Prix is what scores you the points in this case. Grumio giving a bit of a toe to his teammate here on the run towards the bus stop. We'll see now what sort of lap AT puts in as he rounds the last corner. Grumio off into the pit lane, leaving his teammate out on circuit. And towards the line, 1:42.9 for AT. Enough for 9th place. So 13 of our 15 cars in this set lap time, so about halfway through now. Che there in P5, one of just two drivers still out on circuit. Che and AT, both of them have completed their laps though. So just waiting for the next few cars to head back on the circuit. I'm seeing one car making their move. That is Obsessed Gamer, one of the two cars yet to set a lap time. So back out on circuit. And Mercedes were a team that looked quite on the brink in terms of the majority of their time in Q1. Q2 has been a different story of down in P7 there, but I mean, it's still relatively close, and you can see P6, P7, and P8 and P9 all separated by less than a tenth. Curtis retires, but he's up there in third place, so I'd say likely there's a good chance he's safe. As both the Red Bulls currently in the top 10 as it stands right now. Out of our slowest of our 13 lap times so far, 1:44.149. But only a few tenths off of joining that little band in the 1:43s. I think realistically, you need a 1:42 minimum at this point to give yourself a chance of a Q3 spot, as AT heads back into the pits, whether we'll see one more run from us. I think we will later on in a few minutes' time. He is quite on the brink there. It's about half a second from Websy to Ethan. That's P10 to P11 on the board. Obsessed will try and cross over that board if he can. Just 15,000 separating P6 from P7. HP Cook to Dan, obviously your Obsessed teammate. Obsessed with just the 1 point score this season. It's been a rough campaign for him thus far in terms of point scores, but all of our full-time drivers have put points on the board this campaign. And Obsessed obviously on his return season after running just the first few races of season 19. So prior to this season, I only run about 4 RDL races on this game before taking his sabbatical. But it's been tough returns since. Hove back out on circuit as well, P4 at the moment, and looking safe for a spot in Q3, but I'm just trying to make sure of that. towards Lecom. Of course, we're sort of reaching the end now of that run of races that Pope is so synonymous with in terms of performance, especially in the early early to mid portion of the season, that European stint. So from here, might be a bit more of a challenge for the former champion, the season 11 RDL champ. Still plenty capable of taking victories. He has done. He finds the gravel trap there at turn 9. Keeps the car under control, so no real no damage done in that sense. And keeping things nice and smooth here. We'll see if he gains any time. I shouldn't think he does, thanks to that run through the gravel trap. Probably a bit wide there through 9. And up by 7, so big gains here. Pope up by 7 tenths. And that'll put him in the low 42s, perhaps even the high 41s. He may end up topping Grumio, at least for now, because Grumio's back out on circuit. 141.991 is Grumio's best effort. Does Pope perhaps have anything for Imri up front in P1? There's 3.5 minutes to go, so we are probably looking at last runs about to get underway as Pope heads towards the line. And Pope goes second fastest, 141.797. Big gains there. And perhaps Pope, I mean, it's still early days in terms of qualifying as a whole, but whether he can solidify himself as a contender in Q3 to try and become only the 3rd different pole sitter in the first half of the season, that could be a question to keep an eye on. Che lining up in good time behind his teammates, try and get a run. Good toe here. Pope moves out the way. Che follows him down towards Lecom. Gets around him nice and easy. And up by a quarter of a second in the first sector. This top 5 looking safe, but from there it's anyone's guess, in all truth. Again, it's that same cavalcade. HB Cook, Dan, TJ, AT, all within that 1 second. Sorry, within that 1/10, apologies. So it's going to be a case of very fine margins to cap off this session. We've still got 2 minutes to go, so we're getting closer and closer to those last laps. You can see the majority of cars. There's 8 cars on out laps. Another 5 of them currently on time runs. 1 in the pit lane and 1 out of the session. That's Curtis. He's down to 4th as of right now, but I should think he'll be okay from where he is. AT's got a number of cars there around him, including his teammate Grumio. Which looks to be giving AT another tow. Going on board here down towards turn number 5. Che fastest, 141.3. And those Williams cars all of a sudden here to play. I mean, obviously we are looking at changing onto slightly fresher tyres. Pope retires. He's good there in 3rd place. Curtis down to P5. Lucky Lambert shoots up to P6. 10th Cannon starting her lap. In behind. She's taken more than 1 Q3 spot this season. We'll see then if she can add to that tally. So almost everyone, everyone except for Alvar, who can be on the circuit, is on circuit in terms of running a timed lap. And yellow flag in that first sector clear. 30 seconds to go. And both Sowers there looking to try and chase their spots in the last part of qualifying. AT currently the car on the cutoff, but backed off of it there. But I think based on how they line themselves up, I think Grumio's going to give him another tow and they go for another run. Emi retiring. I think safe in Q3, even in that 2nd spot. Checker flag is now up. And waiting on the next car to come to the line. That'll be one of the Williams cars. That is Chase, who's had his luck deleted, so he's staying where he is for now. Next car behind him is the only RB. That's 10th. 10th, 1.3 seconds up, leaving that second sector. And towards the last couple of turns here, towards the bus stop, having used all her deploy over the lap, that could be tough. ERS management so key on these qualifying runs. She slides out the last corner up towards the line. It's 143.8 for her at the minute. It'll be 142.4. Puts on to P6. That puts 18 to the bottom 5. And he needs that spot. Grimier now retiring. He's giving his teammate the toe. Done what he needed to do. TJ across the line in P10 there. If Webbsy can go fast, that'll knock TJ out. Up towards the line. P6 for Webbsy. That'll put AT out. Unless he can improve. TJ's eliminated though. Obsessed also out. Ethan up by 8.5 tenths leaving sector 2. Alvar up by 1 tenth in the first sector. 10.5 leaving sector 1. Ethan, same thing. I mean, used all his deploy. From the last couple of corners here to complete his qualifying run. Has he got enough? He does. And lucky after putting himself in P6. Now out in P11. And AT may still knock out 10th. And Alvar's up by a second leaving sector 2. So big gains here in the closing moments of qualifying. We may yet see both Ethan and 10th go out. As the McLaren and Haas combo around that final corner. AT crosses the line, goes to P8. Alvar crosses the line, goes to P10. And that'll put Ethan out. Ethan and 10th both go in the closing seconds as they pass the checkered flag. And that was a turnaround and a half then. Lucky was in P6, lost 7 places. Che fastest by 2 tenths going into Q3. Imri P2, Dan P3, Pope P4, and Grumio 5th. Webbsy, Curtis, AT, HB Cook, and Alvar will vie for places in pole position in the top 10 part of the grid. Ethan, 10th, Lucky Lambert, TJ, and Obsessed. None of them survived the cut. All 5 of them out. So down to our final 10 then, and Q3 get underway in a matter of moments. So final part of qualifying and the track has clouded over a little bit. No sign of any chance of rain in this thing, but it's different conditions going into this last part of the session. 10 cars remaining. A number of teams getting both their cars into the session. Those teams being Haas, Kick Sauber, and Williams. So our top 3, or part of our top 4 in the championship. So you've got 1 car from Mercedes, 1 car from McLaren, 1 from Aston Martin, 1 from Red Bull. So a number of different teams represented in this final 10. This shows you how close things have been tonight. The midfield was so tense today. So as you saw Lucky Lambert, who was in that 6th spot after his lap, came through and from there fell to P13 at the end of it. So things can change very quickly here, as 8 of our final 10 get out on circuit immediately. HB Cook and Alvar keeping the pits for a second. Alvar going for it now. HB Cook just waiting to gun it. No more movement from Sauber in the pit lane for the time being. So we'll keep an eye on HB Cook as when he comes out. When he comes out onto the racetrack. And Imri is the first car out on track as he was in Q2, and he's looking there, as I've been saying, for his 7th pole position of season 20. Everyone now out on circuit. The only question being is that, I mean, we could see a situation where we could see a 3rd different pole sitter this season. Obviously it's taken us half the season with just these 2, so it's been difficult pickings for the majority of the pack in terms of pole positions thus far. And in the same vein, it's been difficult for race victories for the majority of drivers. Grumio 8 wins for the season. Imri onto his first lap through La Source and down towards Eau Rouge. And keeping the car nice and fast here. Look at the speed he reaches there. 200 miles an hour before he's even reached the Camel Straight. Not using battery just yet. DRS in play. Nearing to 10 miles an hour. Very, very fast stuff. One of the most technical circuits in the calendar. It's one of the fastest too. And it's fantastic fun. But down the hill here towards turn 9. Keeping things smooth. And towards Puon. Running on board here with the Sauber. Hasn't used a ton of battery since the end of that first sector. And just saving all of it here for that run towards the bus stop. He's got about half his deploy for the lap left, so he's done okay here. He's a bit more overtake there. See him now going for it, now gunning it. Of course, ERS management's been a big part of Imri's game that's been not always been there for him when he needs it. And he's running out of deploy now. He's using almost all of it. Into the bus stop. And last corner. Towards the line for the first lap of Q3. It's a 1:41.1. That's a good lap between the ones he sets in the first few. And obviously Q3 things get turned up a notch. And the two Haas cars coming in nose to tail. Dan P2, 1:16, still about half a second off Imri. Both cars over the line here. And the Williams cars are the ones to beat though. 1:41.3 for Pope. And for Che, 1:41.4. Dan and... Oh, Imri's out. He's retired from the session. I dare say he's disconnected. There's no way he would have retired with a run to go. But that could be jeopardy for him. I'd have to point to a disconnection if I knew any better. Well, there you go then. Well, Imri has left his benchmark now. Pope and Che second and third. Dan fourth. Grimio down in fifth here after those first runs. ATP 6 and it's Curtis in P7. Websy 8th. HB Cook currently 9th. About to go 8th, I should think. Yep. And Alvar into the pit lane. Well, that's a turn up then. Imri after the first runs. Back to the garage. And will not participate any further in qualifying. So everyone then, the cavalcade will return back to the pit lane. That long train of cars. And we'll see here what needs to be done to try and work on second runs. To try and match that 1:41.1. Which will be a tough one to beat. So at the very least, if it was a disconnection that's put Imri out, then at the very least he set down a good benchmark before it happened. So Pope will bring them back to the pits. Websy had his lap deleted there. Not sure if it was the same thing for Alvar, because he also came straight back into the pit lane. Back in, and now Alvar going for it. So of course it's been a big upturn in terms of qualifying for Alvar as of late. Of course, I think we're still sort of reeling from that high qualifying and obviously that fantastic race in Spain, which brought him up to P14 in the Drivers' Championship. Things looking awfully close to him. Obviously, he's tied for a start with PJ in the standing, 16 points each, and it's just 4 in front to Ethan and HB Cook. Both on 20. Actually, we'll include Websy there. Websy's also on 20 points as well. So, another 4 points. He could put himself inside the top 10 in the championship. And from there, obviously, it's a big gap to Curtis in P9. So everyone except Alvar in the pit lane here. It'll be a matter of minutes before we get final runs on the way. And Dan also retired from the session. So another driver calling it quits with a run to go. It's Alvar still getting run. I'm wondering if there's an outside chance perhaps of rain here. I doubt it, but I'm wondering perhaps if the front runners know something that we don't in terms of weather. We'll start seeing droplets later in the session, for sure. So Alvar come through and begin his first flying lap of the session with 4 minutes to go. We are seeing cars back out on circuit on their out laps, getting set for one final push. Pope and Che back both out on track. Same thing for Grumio and AT. Curtis, Websy, Alvar all going for it. HB Cook yet to get back out on track again. About 2 minutes to get back out there and go for his out lap. But can Alvar continue on his good run? Hasn't scored since that 6th place finish in Spain. I'm sure I'd love to get some more points on the board today. HB Cook retiring now as well. So both Saubers then calling it quits. Imrie though in a much greater position as Alvar goes 30.5 in the first sector. So solid start so far. Down the hill. Grumio starts what will be likely his final lap. Curtis in behind him and Pope with him as well. Che's going into the bus stop now. Going towards the bus stop rather. Websy lets him go. Alvar into turn 13. And towards 14. He looks to be on 1:14.2 second sector in that chrome McLaren. Down towards that final corner. He's almost always deploy here, but he's made good use of his ERS over the course of the laps. He rounds the last turn now. Looking like a 142 here. 142.2. That's enough for 8th place, moving HP down to P9. If Websy can go higher, then he could get himself. We could find ourselves with the Saubers sandwiching the entire top 10. And there's the rain. Rain arriving very late on the session. Shouldn't be late enough to impact anyone's laps as Alvar retires from the session. P8 for him at best. Could be P9. And everyone is on their laps here. Grumio is improved by half a second, but needs more than that to get himself in front of Imrie. And he's almost out of battery. And the rain might not help his case in the bus stop. Into the last corner. Moment of truth for Grumio here. Slide towards the line. He doesn't go. He goes faster, but not enough. Pope across the line. P3 for him. Curtis in 7th position. Didn't improve in the end. And Curtis crashing the car. Retired from the session there. Pope same thing. With the rain out. Che is having his lap deleted. So it looks as though Imrie, despite whatever happened early on his lap, it looks as though he's done enough, and Imrie will be on pole. 80 across the line, P6 for him. Websy had his lap deleted. 80 and Websy likely just need to retire from the session now to call it quits. Unless Websy wants to get one more lap in here to try and give himself a shout. Have one spot or two higher in the order. We'll see what he can do in this last run. So he taps the inside line there, with the inside wall, so going through La Source. 80 retiring now and just waiting on Websy. So it looks as though Imrie's got pole for this thing. He'll lead Grumio up to La Source. 2 Williams cars on row 2, Pope and Che. So pole position then for Imrie. His 7th pole of the campaign as he hunts his 2nd victory of the season. See if there's rain to come in the Grand Prix as well. But for now, your top 10, then Imrie on pole from Grumio 2nd, Pope 3rd, Che 4th. Dan rounds at your top 5, AT and P6, and it's Curtis, Alvar, HP Cook, and Websy rounding out your top 10. So that is qualifying. The Belgian Grand Prix will be underway in a matter of minutes. Don't go anywhere. So time for us to get the Belgian Grand Prix underway here. Round 12 of Season 20 in the Racers Driving League from the magnificent circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. And if qualifying is anything to go by, we should be in for a spectacle over 22 laps. Of course, last season this race was 100%. Grumio took victory. He starts from P2 today. Imri on pole for the 7th time in these first 12 races and looking for win number 2 to become just the second driver to win more than one Grand Prix this season. Grumio's got 8 to his name. And obviously Imri, Imri and Dan and Che with victories. And from there, just looking forward to what should be a very enjoyable race for us. As we head back over to the live feed and get ourselves set for what should be a brilliant Grand Prix. Those of you just joined us, thank you for joining us tonight on this Monday evening. I'm your host, Zach RC, taking through all the action as always. Ben, unfortunately, couldn't be with us tonight, but hopefully we'll see him back next week. Of course, that'll be our next 100% Grand Prix of the campaign, taking place in Hungary at the Hungaroring. It'll be round 13, kicking off the second half of the campaign. It should be a fantastic race, to say the least. And we're just waiting now for the formation lap to get underway. It should only be seconds away at this point. And we'll see what this 22 laps has to offer us on a circuit that will obviously rained a little bit late on in Q3. Doesn't look like any rain at the moment, at least to start the race off. So it'll be a dry start to the Grand Prix. And from there, we'll see if rain will join us later on. So have a look at your starting grid then. And their starting tyres as well as head off towards La Source. Imri on pole. Grumio starting from second place. Both cars on a medium tyre for the route towards that first turn. Pope and Che, third and fourth for Williams there. So a second row lockout for that team as they try and hunt down Haas and the constructors. Dan in P5 for Mercedes had a bit of a scare in Q1, but got through in the end nice and easy. But on the back foot compared to his usual challenges this week, of course this week. AT in P6 looking to try and push further and closer to 10th Cannon, who sits in 6th place in the Drivers' Championship. 7 points covering those two drivers. Keep an eye on that today. Curtis in P7 looking to obviously improve Red Bull standing as they try and pull away from VCarb in the race for that 5th spot. Alvar in 8th place, another fantastic qualifying for him and a chance to close on Aston Martin in the constructors and also try and get himself into the top 10 of the championship with just 4 points in today's race. Try and tie Websy for that spot. HP Cook lines up P9, currently 11th place, one of those drivers in that 20-point tie with Websy and Ethan, just a few places in front of Alvar. And Websy himself lines up in P10, leading that by virtue of best finish. Aston Martin currently 8th place in the constructors, 2 points back from Alpine. Ethan in P11 driving one of those Alpines to try and close that gap up and push it into Alpine's favour. His teammate starts a bit further back in P18. 10th Cannon lines up P12 outside of the top 10 in qualifying once again, but having scored points 5th, 7th and 10th through our last 3 results in the league over the last few weeks. Lucky Lambert lines up P13, was P6 at the end of his Q2 lap, but fell to P13. A lot of late knockouts at the end of Q2. TJ P14, tough break for him, looking to try and improve things, get himself up, joining Curtis in the points. Obsessed in P15, tough runner in Q2, looking to try and add to his 1 point score this season. DJ in P16, obviously a tough start to the week for him. We'll see if he can improve things from where he is for Aston Martin as they also try and hold off as they try and get around Alpine. Those 2 points covering those two teams. JB P17 looking to score his first points in Spain 3 weeks ago. PJ P18 again, tough qualifying for him and trying to get himself back in the points after missing the points for the last 3 weeks. 11th and 12th, his last 2 showings. On the back row, Ericsson in P19 looking to add to his tally of just 2 points scored this season to help McLaren pull away from Ferrari, and Courtney Goblin lines up dead last for the Scuderia in the back row on the hard tyre. So looking like this is the one stop in this race. We've seen it often go from hard to medium, medium to hard, just sort of whatever you go for, vice versa. It's the other strategy that is available to you as the last 2 cars round the final corner out of the bus stop and getting ready for the start of what should be a thrilling race here. Imri on pole, short run towards that first corner as Courtney Goblin joins up at the back end of the grid. And we are 22 laps away from crowning our 12th Grand Prix win of this season. Imri and Grumio on the front row. It's been a story we've seen many times this season as the lights come on here at Spa. For round 12 of the championship, it's lights up to the floor, and we are racing here in Belgium up towards that first corner. Imri with a good start. Grumio a better start, though, on the outside towards that first turn. 3 wide behind them for second for the 3rd place going into turn 1. Everyone keeps it nice and tidy. 3 wide in the mid-pack as well. Between Alpine, Ferrari, and an RB. It's Imri and Grumio go side by side down towards Eau Rouge. Grumio moves into line, trying to get a better run down the Kemmel Straight. Perhaps tactics in play early on as the Salve driver leads away. Up to Radion they go. All single file. Everyone keeping it nice and tidy. Head towards that Kemmel Straight for the first time. Grumio with a good toe. Makes his move to the inside. Can't come off. Yellow flag ready. DJ's out the Grand Prix. Crashed down at Eau Rouge. And there's looks at the safety. Look at VSC's already been deployed. And Imri getting away with it on the start. Narrowly keeping himself in front of Grumio there before it came out. And everyone, aside from that, kept it nice and clean. Not quite sure what happened to DJ. Obsessed Gamer's got damage as well. That's an end plate loss. And 10 seconds of PJ for a collision with JB. And those cars separated by a number of places here. So so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. But a very exciting start to things as DJ calls it quits. Tough day for him and for that outside the Aston Martin garage. The VSC deployed for the first time tonight then on lap 1. And still plenty of racing obviously to come when that green flag drops again. And there we go, back to racing again here, waiting for it. Grumio going to the inside, waiting for a chance on Imri. I thought going back to it. There we go, green flag goes back out. And catching it, Grumio, an awkward time there going towards turn 12. So Imri can try and put a bit of an advantage here. Of course, DRS will come into play on lap 2, and it'll be down the Kemmel Straight, one of our 2 DRS zones on the circuit. That'll be in that home straight up towards turn 1, but won't be in play just yet. The detection won't be into play. Grumio, though, the good run. And for a second, I thought he was going to try to use some batteries to try and pull away from the Sauber driver. Of course, he's in an awkward spot. We can't make a pass for fear of losing DRS, that run with DRS. We're going to try it regardless, though. Goes to the outside. Pope going 3 wide there. The 3 leaders going into the bus stop chicane. Close to contact. Imri and put Grumio out in front. Grumio to the inside. And the champion making contact with Imri on the corner exit. Pope trying it again here. 3 wide between the top 3 in the order. Going towards turn 1. The pack's all nice and close together. Imri to the inside of Grumio at La Source. And should pull in front on corner exit. Grumio goes wide again. Potential DRS chicken in play here. Pope into race for the second spot, side by side with Grumio, but both cars will get DRS off the race leader as they go into Eau Rouge for the second time, side by side for the back as Captain and Ethan go side by side. JB and Ethan going side by side into Eau Rouge. JB wins out on this occasion as they make their way out to that straight, and now here comes Grumio making his attack and passing Imri, going down towards Les Combes, and Imri lucky to avoid it. Pope going through as well. You see side by side there, Alvar and HP Cook in the race for that 8th spot. HP Cook looking to win out on this occasion and will do so in that special livery. Sauber over the McLaren on corner exit. Webbsy in behind them in that last point paying place, but make a double whammy here for Alvar into turn number 8 to go. Down the inside, down the hill as Webbsy looks to make that pass stick, and he will do it on corner exit around the outside and clearing Alvar like it's nothing. And Alvar down to P10 then, but still in the points paying places. Remember, he needs 4 points to try and tie himself with Webbsy in the Constructors. But if Webbsy keeps up in the Drivers' Championship, if Webbsy obviously scores some points, that'll break that tie in favour of the Aston Martin driver. You saw Ethan and JB going side by side. JB wins out in this case, holds on to P13 for a fantastic number of places here on the start. And we'll have a look at position gain. JB up the most places here, 4 spots gained. Ethan down the most, sorry, Obsessed down the most there. Four spots down with that end plate damage to spare as well, but Ethan down 3 spots. Not a great start for Alpine as a whole. PJ up 2, so those two sort of gravitating towards each other as teammates do. Ericsson now challenging Courtney Goblin in the rear of the field here, looking for P17 of that 4A driver. Courtney Goblin again 3 places in the first lap and a half. It's now just 2. Obsessed, obviously, as you say, down 4 spots. Same for DJ out of the Grand Prix this early on. Imri now in 2nd place, and we'll look to try and get around Grumio, I think, sooner rather than later. It could be a constant game of these two going back and forth. 2 of the fastest drivers on the grid have been far away the fastest this season. As they make their way down the hill once again, 18 making the pass on Curtis into turn 1. Curtis, I think, trying again on corner exit, but couldn't quite do it. Those two will not go side by side towards Eau Rouge. It's all single file then, and everyone keeping it nice and clean as they make their way down towards the Kemmel Straight for the 3rd time. DRS in play for Imri. He's not got a lot of battery though. He's used a lot of it trying to keep Grumio at bay. It's quite an ERS heavy circuit is this one here in Spa. And Imri closing that gap, but not doing enough for the minutes trying to get any chance of a head of steam to take on Grumio. So those two hold their spots for now. Things are quite cloudy over the circuit here. We'll see, it's definitely not, it's not unusual to see rain here in the Ardennes Forest. And we've seen it many times in the past. Didn't see it last season. Last season, quite a nice bright blue Grand Prix, blue sky over the circuit, but not the case as of right now. We'll see it change later on, remains to be seen, but it's looking like everyone's set for the one stop. And I'd say the medium tyre runners, if there is rain coming sooner rather than later, could be a big advantage in terms of running those tyres as hard as they can towards that first stop and putting our set of intermediates to check a flag. But you never know. The weather could still play a factor in this Grand Prix. Let's just wait and see as to what the game plan is for these guys. Imri continues to chase down Grumio into turn 15. From there, it's Pope in 3rd place, down in 4th, Che in 5th right now. Imri doing enough to try and close down that gap on Dan. Remember, that gap stands at 31 points between 2nd and 3rd in the championship. Pope is on Imri's tail in 2 senses, both in the race and the standings. 4 points separating them coming into this race. That's for 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship. Imri obviously slipping in the last couple of races, despite that 6th place finish at Silverstone, where Dan came up 2nd. 3 podiums in the last 3 races, including that win in Monaco, just a race prior to Spain, as we begin lap 4 of this race. But it's all single file here. Things seem to have died down a little bit here. It's a bit of a slide there from JB on corner exit. TJ, obviously Ethan's now back around him in the Alpine, and TJ will try and get around him next. He'll be the next man on the Red Bull drivers hit list, of course. Big fight between V-Carb and Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship for that fifth spot. And again, DRS in play here. Up front. No one close to go for anything here. Actually, TJ quite close to JB this time. And there goes the Red Bull, making the pass. This nice and easy, call as you like, on JB, who falls down to P15 here. But aside from that, it's as you were from everyone else so far. Of course, these top four running the medium tyres in a different boat compared to Che, despite them all being around at about same pace. And AT obviously in there behind them as well. Curtis, HB Cook, that sort of next tier of drivers. Websy in P9 still chasing that Sauber in the race for P8. Alvar still running the points playing place. Lucky Lambert just one place out the points right now on those those hard tyres. 10th Cannon going wide there. I'm sure she'd rather her point streak didn't come to an end. Here is the rain very early on in the Grand Prix. There it is. The first few droplets starting to fall. And that could play into the hands of the medium tyre runners, who, where we go, try and go a bit pitting early off those tyres. Not to push them as hard, not to worry too much about worn tyres later on in the first stint. The rain is up then. It's come a lot sooner than anticipated. We'll see if there's any takers this time round. Everyone's staying as they are. Oh, there goes Pope. Pope's the first car to bite the bullet and come in. AT's going to follow him. Websy, same thing. Alvar stays out. Lucky Lambert, 10th Cannon, Ethan, TJ, JB all staying out. PJ staying out. Ericsson, Cottony, Obsessed. All of them look to be leaving it for the minute. But 3 cars in. Websy is in. You see AT in as well. And Pope. So one of your front runners is in the pit lane now. Inters are on. He's away. Inters on for all 3 cars here. No doubt about that. And DRS not been disabled just yet. We'll get a message from race control at the top of the screen when it does happen. I'm thinking most likely it will. Imrie closes the gap to Grumio. Some of Imrie's best performances have come in the wet in previous seasons. His first career victory came in Hungary in torrential conditions. So we'll see what happens to him today. Grumio, though, has obviously been a master of the wet weather for a long time in this league. We see a number of drivers who could really start to excel in the rain. We'll train here and play. 10th coming out to P9, just holding off Ethan and TJ. PJ now P12, JB down to P13. PJ with that penalty, though, to think about. Obviously has 10 seconds for a collision with the car behind him, which was, of course, garnered under the VSC. Didn't quite see what happened there, but that's the situation for PJ now. And when he pits, likely he's going to have to serve that. So he may find himself a fair bit behind in the running order, down to where those front runners are. Well, saying that the intermediate tyre runners have sort of joined just at the back of the pack here. So I haven't lost out too much, I dare say. We'll see if there's any takers this time as Ethan and 10th Cannon side by side going through turn 14. 10th around the outside, looking to try and win out. Avoiding, of course, what was just a big runoff area in years past until F1 24 is now obviously a large gravel trap thanks to Spa's redo a couple of years ago. As Imrie and Grumio both pitting, DRS now disabled, so that'll be the sign for everyone. And the pit lane about to get very, very busy indeed as everyone makes their way in. No one staying out, no takers otherwise. And the first cars making their way to their pit stops now, pit boxes now. And Grumio wasn't held for a second there. Now there was Imrie, so both cars keeping it steady here. The rain is starting to fall a bit heavier now, getting towards those sort of Belgium conditions we've seen many times. HB might be stopped for a second here. Nope, he's actually going to give himself away nice and easy. Slotting in quite nicely between the McLaren and the Ferrari there. The McLaren of Alvar and the Ferrari of Lucky Lambert. So Grumio goes back out in the lead, but Pope narrowly getting out in front of Dan there in the race to that 3rd spot. And DRS no longer in place. It's down to driver ability in terms of making overtakes. And of course, ERS management will be all the more crucial. So I imagine we'll see this top 5 who have pulled away a fair bit start building some up. As Dan tries to move out of the way of Pope in front. 80 there in P6, Curtis P7, Websy, Alvar, HB Cook your top 10. Lucky Lambert still placed out the points. PJ serves that penalty now, so he's fresh, intermediate tyres, but now about 13 seconds back from the next car in front of him. That's Obsessed Gamer in P18, up 1 spot. Obviously, has front wing repaired 2, yes he has. So things a bit nicer now for Obsessed to drive, especially in these conditions as the rain has gotten quite heavy quite quickly. Imrie right on Grumio's tail here now. I think these two need to be careful. They have enough skirmishes in the dry as is. So we'll see how these two take each other on track and whether Pope can try and close that gap. It looks to be closing in a little bit here Obviously, he's gone one lap further, sorry, on his set of intermediate tyres. Same thing with Websy, same thing with AT. This rain is the great equaliser, and Liga are already in equal cars. It's going to be definitely a lot more fun to keep an eye out for. On lap 6 here, Imri's going to try to make a challenge here. With no DRS to think about, you can sort of go for more challenges on different parts of the circuit, but obviously you haven't got that big help down the Kemmel Straight. You get down to Slipstream and ERS, I should think, as Imri has to put the brakes on his challenge for the minute, but Grumio goes a bit deep there through turn 18. Imri's going to try and switch back on corner exit. Grumio defends the inside for a moment, never opens it back up again. On to lap 7, Grumio with a good enough exit to hold the lead. You see your top 8 all in frame, then make that top 9 as Alvar sits there. Obviously got a place back to the pit stops. And Pope, Dan and Shayla try and get involved here, getting sort of similar sort of things we saw last week at Silverstone, only much nicer weather there last time out. And just not involving Imri in that train, who of course went for that one stop just didn't work out for him in the last week's race after disqualification after qualifying. Battery in play for the top 2 here as they chase each other down towards Lecom. No change at the top spots for now. See, Lucky Lambert quite close to HP Cook. This is the last point in the order. The Ferrari trying the outside here. And can the champion clear the Sauber? So still the side by side for Lecom through turn 7. HP Cook slides in front. And look how heavy the rain has gotten already. A lot of standing water there on the circuit. You can really see at this point. For the back of the train here, everyone's split up a fair bit. The only battle going on behind the leaders is currently this fight for P10, which we'll keep an eye out for as these two continue to squabble into Pouon. And Lucky Lambert was not a fantastic entry, and losing a bit of time to HP Cook as a result. Keeps it within about half a second, so all is not lost just yet. 10th Cannon in behind these guys. We'll see how she handles in the wet. She strives to continue on that point streak for another race. One of the rare occasions this season actually sim rain in the Grand Prix. Imri trying on the grass there, going through the 3rd sector, trying to challenge Grumio, ran out of room, ran out of road, but you can see he's desperate to get back around the champion and try and build an advantage as Pope tries to challenge in behind them now. And close to tapping Imri Sauber. Lucky Lambert now pulling ahead from a moment of HP Cook. They're side by side towards the bus stop. One has got to brake first. HP brakes first, but Lucky brakes later and almost runs deep. Both cars on a corner exit side by side. Outside lane gets the better drive off, but not the case this time. Lucky Lambert dancing past. He had the inside line on corner exit and now has the outside for turn 1, but he's cleared HP Cook and into the points paying place. So 1 point then for Ferrari, but crucially as it stands right now, 2 points for McLaren. So despite Lucky being up there, Alvar being in P9 is not helping the Scuderia's case at the minute. So all to keep an eye out for is Dan side by side with Pope now going towards turn number 5. Race for that 3rd spot. They're close to contact. Pope has to go off the track there. Cuts a little bit. No legal overtake. Che trying to take advantage. Yeah, been caught there. Pope's been caught. Yep, caught napping. And Che takes full advantage too. So Pope gets his teammate go. And now he's looking back around 2 cars. But Che, Dan goes wide. And now Pope taking advantage, going around the outside. So Che is actually done quite nicely there out of the 3 of them. But the difference maker now is that they're all about 1.2 seconds, 1.1 seconds back from the ever battling Grumio and Imri. It's going to be a big chess match between these 5 drivers. Perhaps even 6 of AT can get involved. He's quite close to those 2 as well. Those 5 as well, sorry. Curtis and Websy close together. Alva about a second and a half behind. It's 4.5 to Lucky Lambert in P10. And he's got that train behind him. As 10th Cannon goes wide there through Paul. And now here comes TJ, might take advantage on corner exit towards turn 12. Got a good run. Not going for it just yet. Keeping the car in line. Keeping things nice and controlled as they make their way through turns 12 and 13. TJ now there. 10th knows, is very aware of the Red Bull's presence behind, as well as the Sauber and the Ferrari in front. She tries to get herself towards those points paying spots. AT sort of by himself right now. Wanted to get involved in that train. It's Grumio and Imri challenging for the race lead here. And Che trying to sneak in too if he can, but struggling to get a piece of it at the minute. We are nearing the halfway stage in this Grand Prix, which is mad things fitting at lap 9, but that's just because of the lap count of this Grand Prix. It's the lowest lap count of the season, but obviously one of the longest tracks on the calendar, so it all evens out. We normally run sort of around 150 kilometers distance in these races, these half races we run
And obviously, it'll be 100% Grand Prix next week in Hungary. That'll be an exciting one to keep an eye out for us. TJ and 10th Cannon on corner exit. Again, going at it. They were at it in the first stint. And same thing again here. TJ again in front of 10th. But will he have better luck in trying to take on HB Cook? And will either of them, or any of them, catch up to Lucky Lamberts? Put a big 2 seconds here over the Sauber. But TJ with a head of steam here. Closing the gap. And looks to the inside, trying a bit of, obviously that's not a dry line forming as of yet. So we'll obviously be expected if the rain continues to help the circuit. And I'm wondering here if there could be a sense of impatience in that Sauber. Of course, you saw him a few laps ago, Imre trying on the grass in the third sector to go for a move for the race lead. Couldn't do it, obviously. So finds himself back in line. But I dare say it was challenging last time around. We didn't see it. So we'll see what he does this time. And again, in terms of ERS management, he's got the lowest of the 5 here. Grumio sat there with 73%, 59 for Che, 68 for Pope, and 67 for Dan, but just 41 for Imre. He's got a bit to go, but he needs to try and challenge. Grumio uses overtake now to try and pull away. Imre under pressure now from Che for that second spot. Both cars closing in, though, on Grumio as he backs off, doesn't use his overtake. And I get the sense that I have a feeling, I feel like I know what Grumio's tactic sort of is in play here. He obviously saves a lot of battery, he uses a little bit to keep himself in front, but should he get past perhaps in the bus stop in the last corner, he's got plenty of battery to try and come back on the Kemmel straight, because like, chances are the car in front will making the pass will have used all of their, most of, if not all of their ERS in trying to make the initial overtake with the race lead. So that's what I'm thinking Grumio's game plan is right now, and it's working beautifully for the minute, because no one's actually managed to take a pass for him for the lead just yet. He's got plenty to go down the Kemmel straight too. He's got half his tank at the minute. And Che, better exit than Imre, out of ready on. Side by side now and pulling into second place. There goes Che. So a change to P2 there. And we'll see how Grumio handles a different fight with a different driver. You saw Imre just trying to get back around Che if he can. Not having much luck at the minute. So the train cascades down the hill again. Right, 10 laps into this thing. Grumio still leads. AT's there in P6. He's there and thereabouts. I think if these guys start to really fight, he could get himself involved in this little train. But as for how long he stepped with them, not too sure. A real challenge is on here for these guys as they continue to navigate these conditions. But in terms of everything else, it's been nice and clean so far. Save for whatever happened on the first lap with DJ. So it's full grid tonight, so always good to see a full 20 cars lining up on the grid. And obviously Che's got more battery than Imre ever did, so in terms of an attacking situation in this spot of the circuit. So we'll see if Che can provide something different here in terms of making that move. Imre defends the inside, but now leaves it open. Che takes his chance, goes up the inside. It could be a lead change here. And on corner exit, both cars are there, but the inside better drive off, and Imre might try and challenge too. Going towards turn 1. Pope and Dan, we're trying to pick up the pieces there in P4 and P5. No change in the top 3 spots. Grumio a bit wide there at turn 1 off his line slightly. All 3 cars. Imre has harvested a fair bit now. Has got some batteries to go for it. As does Che, as does Grumio. So same situation for everyone now. All in the same sort of boat. Halfway stage of the Grand Prix now. JB passing Ericsson for P15 for the back. No change in the top spots. Obsessed and Courtney close together there. For P17, P18. PJ Canada's closed in half of that gap. He's 6.3 behind Courtney now. It may take a safety car to get himself back in this Grand Prix with a chance. His teammate Ethan in P14. It's not looking great for Alpine right now. And Aston Martin currently up in 8th place with Websy. That's 4 points going their way. So it will swing from being 2 points behind Alpine's 2 points in front. So not looking too bad then for the Silverstone-based team. See Imre looking around there trying to make something happen. Grumio about half a second in front now. And Ethan Eriksson there, both with penalties. So our first 3 seconds of the night being distributed, given to those two drivers. So when we cross the line, we'll be absolute halfway in this Grand Prix. Top 5 splits up a little bit here, but they're saying that. There goes down to the outside of Pope, looking for P4. Close to running into the back of the Sauber behind. In front, sorry. And both sliding on corner exit. And Dan was sliding off into Pope for a moment there. Halfway home now. Still the inside there in play for Pope as they enter turn 1. Into La Source they go. Contact between the pair of them. Just tire banging, nothing too crazy. These two not leaving each other loads of room on corner exits here. And towards O'Rourke, someone's got to back out of it. No one backs out, but Dan wins that. That was very gutsy from both drivers to even think about going for that. And AT has now joined the party. He's in with that train. It could be a top 6 now if everyone closes back up again. As Che looking at Grumio, still 3 tenths behind, not close enough just yet. And Imre using his battery in medium to try and keep up with these guys who are both saving right now. A train forming here. JB's got Ethan Eriksson right behind them as they race for what is P14 on the road. 10th currently in P13 by herself. HP got about 2 seconds, a second and a half in front. It's another 2 to TJ. Lucky Lambert still holding on to the points. It'd do them a world of good if he could do Ferrari a world of good if he could get around Alvar and try and turn that from a point loss to a point gain for the prancing horses. Come back to the line, we enter the last 10 laps of this race. Everyone else quite split up here. The top 3 and places from 4th to 6th have sort of split up themselves a little bit here. AT's got more involved. If there's DRS involved, he'd be in the train. Webb's into the pit lane here. Change being made. Whether it's a change of fresh tyres, I'm not sure. That could be curious. Of course, Webbsy was not part of that initial trio that came in for the first stop a lap early. He's going for another set of intermediates here, so perhaps we could be looking at tyre wear being a factor. We'll see next time round if anyone else pits. And Imre falling back big time there from Che and Grumio. Those two now running 1 and 2 and together. Dan about a second back from Imre. Pope in P5. He's got AT close to him. Everyone's sort of split up a fair bit now. Let's wait and see if they come back together. If they come back together. But it's Grumio in control of things as it stands right now. Alvar, so I got Lucky and TJ close behind. Both cars all 3 cars with about 2 seconds to each other as at the minute. So Alvar now around Lucky, so that's done him a world of good. And that's 2-point gain now for Ferrari. I'll put Ferrari on 16 and McLaren on 20, so it's 4 points separating those two teams. And what in real life F1 just 2 years ago was a fight for the constructors lead between the pair of them, running P9 and P10 in the RDL here. Obviously in previous years Haas and Williams have been the 2 dominant forces of the last couple of seasons. Yellow flag. He's slow. Keeps himself going again. Nice. No concern there. still chasing HB Cook there, but even so, 4.6 seconds into TJ in front. And Lucky still quite close to Alvar here, so we could see another change. Good run from Lucky. Looking for 8th place to make the way towards Lecom for the 14th time in this Grand Prix. And then Ferrari trying to pull alongside the McLaren, but can't do it. Alvar stays in front. Lucky needs that place. Needs it back. So Imri's trying to close the gap up a bit more. Things starting to close in slightly between the top 5 again. And at the minute, we're still looking at no changes. No one's come into the pits since Websy did this. Alvar gets hit with the penalty. That will be big for him. But Lucky now taking advantage of that because it means that, as it stands, Alvar will drop down to 10th place, which means that there'll be a 3-point gain for Ferrari. So it should be 3 points separating those two teams now. He's picked up with a penalty himself. So 10th will benefit from that, perhaps even Websy too. Any takers to the pits, everyone's staying where they are here, but everyone close together again. So we start to wonder then, what brought Websy in a few laps ago? Lucky Lambert gets a penalty of his own now. So track limits in play for both cars, and TJ now looks set to take advantage. And that means that Lucky needs to get back now, needs to get around Alvar, but pulls into the pits. So a second taker here. Looking at fresh inters. The last 8 laps of this Grand Prix. He's done 8 laps, he's done 9 laps and he's ready. The question now being, will we see any more late takers? Ethan's into pit lane 2. So last stops could be going into effect now. We'll see if anyone joins. The 3 cars have come in so far. Hopefully with fresh tyres on, this be a very interesting end to the Grand Prix. TJ and Alvar side by side through Lecom. Another car giving an inch here. TJ might be around the outside, but Alvar trying to pull clear on corner exit. It's dead even. And TJ in front. So Red Bull now P7, P8. Oh, and Alvar wide. And keeps it up the gravel at turn 9, but slide out turn 8 though. And obviously that penalty to think about, how for the HB Cook is of no threat to him. He's got his own penalty, but Websy might have taken over both cars then and try and find P10, maybe P9. Attempt Cannon. May also try and do the same thing and take advantage of this. You can try and close in. If there is a third stint to come, getting closer and closer when it starts. In terms of sort of everyone having one. We'll see if there's any takers this time. I mean, these guys are fantastic with their tyres in terms of managing them, but everyone stays out. And I feel that they may all judge it off the leader as Curtis and AT side by side now. Curtis looking for some more points for Red Bull. AT squeezed out on corner exit. And Pope in the pit lane. Sorry, so this is one taker. Pope, of course, was one of those 3 drivers who made the initial stop. As it was with AT and Websy. Fresh inters on, so will anyone else in the top 4 follow suit? Grimier's controlled this race and taking the lead early on. Alvar now in P8, Pope rejoins in P9, Websy behind him. HB Cook inters on for him too. So a few more cars now have made 2 stops in this Grand Prix. That's 5 of them. Will there be another 14 cars who try to follow suit? And if they do, how many of them? Second separating Grimier from Che here. It'll be just 6 laps to go and across the line. Almost 3/4 of the way through this thing. Long in the top 4 second tyres. Curtis has always made T big time here. Curtis is now in 5th place. Thanks to Pope stop. Pope on the tail of Alvar. They're going into turn number 18, but locks up. Alvar gives him the room. And Lucky, having made a stop from P13, has got some work to get himself back up to where Alvar is, but he's not too far off, truthfully. There goes Pope again to the inside. Alvar gives him a lot of room there. JB penalty as well. 10th cannon now in. So Lucky gains 1 place up into P12 now. And Pope passing Alvar through towards Eau Rouge. Shea is close to get back in on Grumio again. Needs to go back and forth in terms of expanding and compressing and has that gap for position number 1. There's just got 5.5 laps left to go, and Grumio's doing a good job here. Whether we get to the point now where both cars start saving for a late charge to the end of the Grand Prix. I wonder if they all pit now, how much advantage can Pope take? Alvar each day in front of Websy. And let's not forget, Webbsy's made 2 stops. Alvar stops, and that obviously do Lucky Lambert a lot of good, try and gain that 1 point. But I think Alvar's got to stay where he is now to try and ensure he can score some. He's 10.5 seconds back to Lucky, which I doubt he'll close towards the end of the Grand Prix. He's still got 5 laps to go. He needs to close about 2 seconds a lap as moves being made here. As Che goes for it on Grumio in the last corner. Dan and Emery going out in corner exit 2, side by side for the race lead here. Che is in front, but Grumio pulling ahead towards turn 1. 5 laps to go. Che sends the car in. Contact between the pair of them. Che starts up into Grumio. Both cars come out unscathed. And Dan in front of Emery there. So Emery off the podium now from pole. And 2 leaders now 3 seconds clear of Dan and Emery. They can both get penalties from here and more or less still be on course for P1 and P2. Battery for both cars in play. Che's got a slipstream, but Grumio's got a bit more battery to spare. And things split up now. Pope 3 seconds behind. 3 seconds behind TJ in the race for his P7 now in the order. Alvar, Websy chasing him there. Those two going at it. Websy on the fresh tyres. Alvar going for longer with that penalty to think about too. And Lucky's got his own penalty as well in P11 there. So is JB Eriksson, HP Cook. So can't finish any lower than this at the minute. HP Cook and Eriksson side by side. And the salvage driver pulling ahead. Websy and Alvar making again going at it. Websy now passing Alvar through turn 8 and through towards 9. So things are a bit more exciting in the closing laps. JB's got obsessed right behind him there. Sorry, that 10th cannon got obsessed right behind. JB's up in P12 and that little it wasn't a little train, but it's now currently chasing Lucky with 3.4 behind. And gaining a bit of ground too. Not long to go now in this Grand Prix. Four laps remaining in the Belgian Grand Prix. As it stands right now, it's down to Grumio and Che for the win. I think Dan and Emery, unless these two really go at it, it'll be a bit too far behind to come back now for a chance to win this thing. Curtis and AT still running P5, P6. TJ's now got Pope 2.5 behind him. TJ can't afford a penalty at this stage of the race, because that'll knock him down a spot. And Pope fighting for P7 being the best he can do in this race from here. Emery fully away from Dad now. And I wonder if we'll start to see both cars, both these top two, start to save up for the final lap, as we've seen them do many times before. But as of right now, it's been all Grumio for a long portion of this Grand Prix. And we're just waiting for the checkered flag, looking for that 9th win of the season. He's taken 8 already this campaign, including the last 3. Can he go 4 on the spin? Oh, another wide again. And this time can't escape the gravel trap. Recovers it nice and easy, but falling away now from Websy. And Lucky Lambert knows what to stake here. If he can close the gap down, it's down to 4 seconds now. He knows that there's a 1 point gain on the line if he can catch that McLaren. He's now 3.8 behind. 3.4. That gap is closing a bit. Oh, a slide there. Holds it both 2 slides. Holds it both times. And Che again on Grumio's tail. 3 laps to go in front. Imri falling away from Dan here. Pope now on TJ's tail. Within 1 second of him. No DRS obviously in play this late in the Grand Prix. He's got 3 laps to make that pass. 6 cars with penalties in this order. Alvar, Lucky, JB, XP Cook, Ericsson, Ethan. PJ now actually in front of his teammate there. After obviously been a tough race from so far. And Ericsson with another penalty. First driver to get 6 seconds. Side by side battling 10th Cannon. 10th wins out into that last corner. Now Che has led this Grand Prix, but only briefly. It's been a constant scrap between these two. And Grumio looks to be already saving a lot more batteries to try and get himself set for the showdown, which I imagine will take place in the last lap as Pope gets around TJ, who slides a bit through turn 8. Pope moves in front. 4.5 seconds here to AT. Lucky now on those fresh tyres, just 2.3 seconds behind Alvar. Those inters are doing him some good. And then maybe he'll get him back inside the points here with just over 2 laps to go. Now Che in behind Grumio. Imri penalty. And now likely kill his chance of a podium finish today unless Dan gets one too. We're on the tail end of Mercedes on corner exit. So Che still chasing Grumio to turn 1. The question is, at this point for Che, when do you make the move to try and win the race? Because he's got to come once, he's got to do it once and hold it from there. So does Che try and get there in the bus stop, or has Grumio got enough time to try and pull away in that time? Both drivers need to start saving a lot of battery for this last lap. There's no DRS in play, so perhaps you want to be the car in front, because no car has been able to get around Grumio so far today in terms of raw pace on the Camel Straight. So he might be a better spot than anticipated here. As he looks for that ninth win of the campaign. On the back, Lucky Lambert now on the tail of Alvar. He is there. He's within half a second. Now we'll see if he gets to make the move. And Courtney Goblin 3 seconds to the other Ferrari. Obviously a late penalty now for either one of these two cars would kill their chances of points. The Scuderia will be hoping it's the McLaren, and McLaren will be hoping it's the Ferrari. I'll tell you what, I hate to be on the pit wall for either Williams or Haas right now, watching their 2-star drivers duke it out for the win here. Che has barely led all evening here. Both cars got the same amount of battery here late on this showdown, so it could come down to who wants it more. They've got just one more lap to go. And these two, let's not forget, just 7 days ago, went head-to-head for the race win at Silverstone. And Grumio won it, going into Stowe, making the pass in the last DRS straight. No DRS in play this time. Che's got to get around him on skill alone. And, of course, plenty of battery to spare, too. Behind them, Imri will try and take Dan. Hope that Dan gets him a penalty, too. Pope is on AT's tail now, looking for P6. We'll see if he gets it later on. Down the Camel Straight for the last time here. This is the race for the victory. And Grumio looks to be low on fuel here. You see the red light is on Grumio's car. That could be a concern later on. Can he manage that to the end of the race? Or will he run out? Could Grumio's luck run dry in the closing lap here in Belgium? As Che continues to hound him and try and forces him into some kind of error. As Che finds the grass there through turn 8. No, you don't want to try and do that, Che. And he's falling away. May have cost himself the race there. Can Grumio afford to lift a little bit? Bring Che back into play and save some fuel. Lucky now around Alvar for P10. Those two guys side by side. Lucky off the circuit. 3-second penalty for corner cutting, and that'll do him in. Pope around AT. Down pulling away from Imri. Alvar now back in front of the McLaren. Illegal overtake, I presume, there. And Grumio's almost a second in front. It's going to take something big from Che to win this race from here, but can Grumio afford to go all overtake and use his fuel up? It looks as though he may just hold on to it here. Che a bit faster. And I think Grumio's just about done enough then. So Grumio, not a drop to spare then as he heads towards the bus stop for the last time. Waiting for both cars to merge from the last corner. And Grumio's going to come through and narrowly hold off Che. Not a drop to spare in the tank. Grumio takes win number 9 of the season. He wins in Belgium. Che second place. Dan will come through for third with Imri chasing him home in fourth. Yellow flag. And Obsessed Gamers around on the last lap. Recovers it in Puon. Oh, a puncture. Late on for Obsessed. And the tyres couldn't go much longer than that. Pope is retired and he crossed the line in 6th. Lucky Lambert and Alvar side by side of the line here. Lucky will finish behind Alvar regardless, but beats him on track. Both cars end up with sorry, just Alvar's at the last point then. JB through for P12. HP Cook P13. 10th Cannon up to P... Oh, jumping up penalties in the end there. 10th into P11 in the end. Made that P12. 13th for JB. 14th for HP Cook. 15th for Ericsson. PJ crossed the line in 16th. Oh, PJ out of fuel, perhaps. He is out of fuel. Well, fuel has always been a close case in terms of Belgium. Conley Goblin will take P18 at the checker flag then. And Obsessed is going to limp home in P19. So watch him bring the car home. Look at that, up on 3 wheels. And Grumio, the brick wall of Belgium, takes win number 9 of the campaign. He'll increase his lead in the Drivers' Championship by 10 points to Dan. 113 points. Now the gap in the championship. Oh, and Obsessed off the circuit there, turn 18. Recovers the car, bring it towards the line now. To cap off the race, P19 for him. But Grumio, your winner. And for a moment, it looked difficult when I saw that red light came on, and I was wondering if he was going to run out of fuel at the end of the race there, but it didn't in the end. But Grumio traverses the rain then and wins here in Belgium. Che second and Dan third. So difficult to race in the rain, especially on a circuit as tough as this one. But these three managed it superbly. Obviously, Ibra stepped with them as well. Pope was with them as well. The strategy change Pope didn't work out, and then comes home in the 6th spot over AT. Very enjoyable race. And it was interesting to see these guys in the rain. And we'll have a look here. Your final race results here in Belgium. Grumio wins it from Che in 2nd, Dan 3rd, Imri 4th. Curtis, fantastic P5 for Red Bull. P6 for Pope. It's AT, TJ, Websy, and Alvar, your point scorers. Lucky Lambert had a chance today to try and nab some points for the team in Maranello, but wasn't to be today. 10th Cannon in P12, JB P13, HP Cook in P14, Ericsson P15, PJ, Ethan, Cottony, and Obsessed ran at your order. Pope went P6 on the end of the day, and DJ out on the first lap. Tough day for him, but only retirement in this Grand Prix. So the race draws to a close in quite enjoyable fashion here. And that was your racing And we'll now look into getting post-race interviews underway for you sooner rather than later. It's been a very fun Grand Prix, to say the least. And I'm excited to see what the general consensus was from that Grand Prix. It's a very fun one. So we'll see here in terms of who we can get in. But yeah, I mean, great race overall. And brilliant fun for everybody involved. And we'll see if we can get anyone in to have a chat with us. And we have our first arrival to the commentary box here. Dan finishes up, a solid finish for Dan overall at the end of that very exciting Grand Prix. Third place to flag. Dan, well done, mate. Difficult race to navigate, but you managed to do it, and obviously brought home a podium finish as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very, very difficult. Again, something about wet races and being stuck behind Pope. Just can't escape him. And I don't think it cost me today. I think my tire wear was way too high by the end of it, which is why I dropped off so far behind Che and Grumio. And those last few laps sort of held up Imri as well. So yeah, it was definitely a good race, and I'm glad to have got another podium out of it.
Obviously, keeping yourself in front in the race of P2 in the Drivers' Championship. I did want to ask, in terms, was there sort of a sigh of relief when Pope did move out the way, go for that second stop?
Yeah, because it's such a difficult track to overtake at. I knew like I would have had to time it right, but then also to defend him as well. It's so awkward. So yeah, very, very happy that he ended up just hitting that one lap a little too soon to make that one stop work for him. But yeah, always good racing with him. It was a little bit scrappier than I think we both would have liked, but yeah, still, it's always fun racing Pope.
Obviously, you mentioned, of course, the high tyre wear towards the end of the race. Were you sort of nearing puncture territory in that sense? Because Obsessed got one on the very last lap. I'm not sure if you saw.
Yeah, I did see. Unfortunately, he had a really good qualifying as well. So it's a shame that his race ended that way. But I was on like 81% out the line, and I'm kind of surprised I didn't get one with the amount of wheel spin I got out the last corner as well. So yeah, it was a bit sketchy at the end. But I think both Imri and I were just trying to survive instead of chase Che and Grumio at the end.
Fair enough, man. Of course, a difficult race to navigate as a whole, but you guys all managed to do it, so fair play to you there. Next week's race, obviously Hungary, our next 100% Grand Prix. I know you quite enjoy those full length ones. You're quite good at those. Is the outlook to try and get a win next week, or is that off the cards? Do you think?
I think it's off the cards. I can't remember having a good race at Hungary like recently. I think my best race there was season 11, and that was a bit fluky with pit stops and everything. So yeah, it's always a bit of a tough one for me, Hungary, but it's 100%, so it's a very different challenge compared to usual.
I recall quite an interesting finish for you back in season 12 at Hungary, so we'll see whether there's sort of shades of that in next week's race. But yeah, good job on the podium finish. We'll come now to our 5th place finisher, Curtis Shepherd, who comes home brilliantly for Red Bull. Curtis, fair play to you, mate. Yeah, I mean, obviously gained a bonus place with Pope coming into the pit lane. Was there any thought of a 2-stop in your book at all, or was it always the 1-stop when the rain started?
I think it depends how well you look after your tyres. I'm for whatever reason quite good at looking after tyres and fuel. So I think when I crossed the line, I was only on about 70%. So I was never going to pit, but I would understand why people felt the need to. I think I was speaking to my teammate TJ during that, and he was high 70s. I know some people were getting into the 80s, high 80s. So I was never going to pit, but I would understand why people felt the need to.
So obviously good points for Red Bull today. You and TJ 5th and 8th in the order. I didn't want to talk to you because obviously you had a fair few good laps fighting with AT. How was that fight as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, AT is one of the drivers you can always trust to fight fairly. I think I tried one around the outside of Lake Com, and then the rear just went, yeah, I'm not doing that. And I just gathered that up quite quickly. But it's always good, especially racing in the wet and making overtakes in the wet. Always feels that bit nicer than just DRSing past people.
Looking at the constructors, obviously, you guys are a bit more firmly set in 5th place now, having overtaken VCAR the last few rounds. I hate to sort of put anything on you and be ambitious here, but is there a chance you guys have a shout at chasing Sauber for P4? Because obviously they haven't been to their best in recent weeks.
There's a chance. I wouldn't say either myself or TJ are actually looking at it. But I mean, I think we've had 9 races, 10 races now, and I think between the two of us, only been outside the points 5 times. So 15 point scores between both of us, so which is a very, very good showing. I mean, there's no reason why not. It's not something we're aiming for. We're just one race at a time. Hungary's next. Full focus is on that.
And in terms of that race in Hungary, what's the outlook there? Is the Hungaroring a circuit we're looking at a struggle perhaps, or could this be another strong finish?
It's one I like. It's hit and miss depending on the game. This game I feel good, so I would be confident in Hungary. But a tyre wear is also, it's a 100% race. It could very easily be a 3-stop. So we'll look forward to that.
Definitely could be an interesting race in terms of strategy with that full Grand Prix in mind. Obviously, good job on the points today, and obviously solid score for you guys at Red Bull as a whole. Moving on now to 10th Canada, came home P12, so 10th, the point streak comes to an end for the time being, but definitely a challenging race, so I wouldn't downgrade anything from today. Obviously, it's just a difficult race to get through. How was it from your end?
Boring, to be honest. I didn't really have the pace. To be quite frank, I'm not well. I woke up with a sore throat this morning, and I'm aching a bit, so wasn't really feeling my best today. It was kind of a struggle to get through the race. I'm also running on a lack of sleep, so it was a bit hard to get through. But to finish where I did, I guess it's not too bad.
And obviously, you're quite close to your teammate towards the end of the Grand Prix. There was there any point where it got too close at all, or did you guys keep it clean?
No, he was about 3 seconds ahead, but he had a penalty.
That was.
So, yeah, I was, if I'm honest, I was trying to see if I could slow up a bit at the end to see if I could let him finish ahead of me, because I thought that was quite nice for him to hold up HB Cook, but nah, it didn't work. I got past him in the end, which I didn't want to, but it is what it is. It wasn't for points anyway.
Obviously the points round has been fantastic for you in the last sort of 5 or 6 rounds. So if I double check my my standings going before today, we were looking at a run of the last. If I have a quick look, yeah, you've scored points every single round since Japan round 3, and you only have 1 non-score this season. So it's been a solid first half of the season for you. Would you rate it quite highly in terms of performance so far?
Oh, definitely. I didn't think I was going to be this good, and then I've come out firing on all cylinders. So I'm very happy with how it's gone. I don't think it's over per se. I think I can. I still think I'm competitive. I mean, I think today was just a bit of an off day because, as I said, I'm not feeling great. So I think for what it is, even though I'm not my best, still finishing 12th isn't too bad. I'm happy-ish.
Fair enough. And obviously, going into the second half of the season next week, is there a sort of particular run of races we could be looking at to score some more big points?
Oh, let me have a look at the calendar real quick. Any of the 100% races, I think. Those tend to be ones that I'm good at. Brazil, I think I'm looking forward to. Not so much Italy. I'm kind of nervous about that one. Baku, I think I did really badly last season, but I think if I get enough practice, if I concentrate enough, I can probably do it. Really interested to see what that Austria reverse race is going to be like. Obviously, it was a bit mad last season in Silverstone, which was really fun. So maybe it'll be like that again.
I mean, Austria is always chaos, so they're one to find out for come early May. But yeah, I mean, good job on obviously getting to the end, given the not feeling 100% this week. Hopefully, back up to full strength in next week's race in Hungary.
I hope so.
Hopefully, should be there for you. And we'll come now to HB Cook, who came home to mind P14 at the flag. HB Cook, is that correct?
Yeah, I've got no idea. I'll be honest. It was that bad of a race. I forgot to check afterwards.
I'm just looking at my results here because I just saw because Pope got. I think Pope DNF passed the line, so he's got you down as P13,
yeah.
But obviously P14 at the flag. Yeah, I mean, rainy weather, started off dry, went quite wet early on.
I mean, you say it's just one of those ones, yeah?
Yeah, it's one of them races where you sit there and you see like cars overtake you and just think how like the setup I created for today, as soon as it started raining, was made up for the wet. Maybe it was just setup area. Maybe it was I'm not great in the wet. It could be a combination of things. Like quality, I didn't feel great. Like, I felt quick going into it, but then when you do Q1, you're like, oh, actually, a minute, I'm like a second off people here. You did a bit worried, but no, it's just been one of them days. Everyone gets them, and then just I'll look to next few weeks and see what happens.
Of course, you're one of sort of 4 or 5 drivers who took a second stop in the Grand Prix. If you could do it again, would you have carried on with a 1, or were you quite close to a puncture at all?
I think I'd probably say a 1. The only reason why I moved to a 2 was in reaction to I believe it was Lucky who pitted, and I was in my head like 50-50 about which one to do, but I don't know if people saw, but I was pretty much drifting around every corner. I had totally drift points that were literally that bad. I couldn't keep the car on the braking and in control, so I thought get fresh set, move the wind up a tiny bit more, and then I kind of checked like the last 7 laps as kind of like a tester to see if I made the right call. But I think we were just a little bit too late to what I actually wanted to do.
Fair enough. I mean, I can relate to the sort of 50-50 thinking. Do you go for it? Do you not? I've done that many times myself in when I've driven on the game. Looking into, of course, the second half of the campaign, I think the first half has been sort of a bit up and down for you so far. So are we hoping for a bit more stability in the second half?
Yeah, like I said at season, obviously I missed a few races due to obviously other reasons. Obviously a few races here and there where I might be involved in a collision or missed on the points every now and again. But no, I think second half of the season, there's a few tracks in there that I enjoy. Obviously one of them being where I got my only win last season, Las Vegas. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from the last few rounds, like a collection of performances, and all I've got to do is just reset, go again, and look at maybe tracks like Baku, Vegas, and hopefully try and get a few more points to help Imri.
So hopefully looking forward to seeing a stronger HB Cook and a more confident HB Cook in the second half of the campaign without a doubt. And we'll come now last of all to JB, who wound up, from what I've got here, in the 13th position end of the day. JB, one of those wet races is difficult to navigate. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was challenging. I'm glad it rains because my wet weather pace seems to be a bit better than my dry pace. But unfortunately, the quali was just so shockingly bad. I messed up my final run, and I needed another 10th to get into Q2, and yeah, just from there, it just made things difficult because when it came to everyone pitting, when it started raining, I was stuck behind 10th in the pits, and then I'd catch up what I'd made up in the start of the race, and then caught up to 10th again, and then I had a shocking lap. I went off at the final chicane, lost a few seconds, and then I just spent the whole lap drifting around. I don't know what happened, but just sort of lost my composure a bit. And that cost me a good, I'd say 5 or 6 seconds on that one lap, and it wasn't enough to, get a point because I was 11 seconds behind Alvar. But he started 8th, so the pace was okay. Just a bit of a frustrating one, really.
Talk to us about that moment where you went off, because I didn't catch it. Did you go sort of off, or was it just a bit too deep in the corner?
No, I went completely off. I broke a little bit too late, and it was either that or hit 10th, who was coming into the pits that lap, which made it even more annoying. And then the game gave me a track limit warning, which is always good when you lose several seconds. And then I think Lucky was catching me at that point. And then he got me later in the lap, and yeah, just annoying. My tyres were 87% at the flag, so pushed it. But I didn't want to have to pit again because I knew the only real chance of bagging any points was if there was a late safety car. So if I pit, I would be out of it anyway. So I stuck it out, and it was the right call anyway because obviously it didn't. The new tyres weren't quick enough to catch up. And yeah, just one of those things. But can take some positives from from the wet weather pace. But yeah, just a bit annoyed. It's another non-score.
Obviously, the first half of the season now over. I did want to ask, obviously, you and 10th as a unit sit in their 6th place in the constructors. Obviously, fantastic effort from the pair of you in the first half. Is there a chance of more points in the second half than the first, or is this sort of a bit of the peak and then sort of coming down from here?
I think so, yeah. Obviously, 10th's been on really great form. We've said we're going to try to work a little bit harder in qualifying in terms of, slipstreams and things like that, because we haven't actually bothered the first half of this season. And it works quite well when I was teammates with Gremio last season. And obviously, there are people doing it this season, giving each other a tow. Next race is Hungary. Not really an easy track to do it. Probably not even worth doing it, to be honest. But the tracks like today or Monza, which isn't too far away, definitely worth trying to work a bit harder together in quali, and because I think, especially with the midfield as close as it is, starting as far forward as possible is going to be really beneficial. So hopefully my second half of the season, I mean, it's not been a good. I'm on 9 points, which is well, I thought last season was bad. This season's going worse. So just got to keep working at it and hopefully get some results in the second half.
Well, plenty of time left to do that, and of course you can start that effort next week on the 23rd of February for the Hungarian Grand Prix, our next 100% race in the season, and that'll do it then for post-match interviews. So guys, thank you all for showing up as always and putting on a fantastic race for us all, and that'll do us then in terms of coverage of tonight's race here from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. I've been your host, Zach RC. Hopefully we'll have Ben back next week as well. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more future audio content. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye. Nice one, guys.